Big football weekend. Patriots, of course, at the Bucs, and really the football began on Thursday night with USF hosting UTSA. Steve, I turned this game on. First of all, I saw Rob Higgins on all day, and ESPN was there. The fans were crazy. Rob was tweeting at 5:30 in the morning from USF. Man, the
all
dude
gas, no brakes.
Woo, he is that and more for sure. He's just popping up everywhere. But good for him. He's the Pied Piper right now. He's in charge of the athletic department, selling it. And the students came out. ESPN did a good job of interviewing Alex Golesh and having the fans out and all that stuff. And man, that game started, and I was like, if you're on offense right now, you basically didn't need to come, because the way the game started, they got a pick six, a fumble return for a touchdown. And then when they finally forced a 3-and-out or a punt again, it went off of one of the USF's players' feet, and the defense was back on the field again. And it was like first quarter's almost over. They hadn't had their offense on the field. It was crazy.
What is it, 45 points in the first half and 7 minutes and 45 seconds of possession?
Incredible. And poor UTSA quarterback, one of the McCown brothers' sons was a quarterback for UTSA. And he had 2 turnovers in his first. They were driving the ball too. They were driving the ball. Were about to score to tie the game up when he had the sack, fumble, and return for a touchdown. So
yeah, as we record this, it's 52-10 in the third quarter right now. So.
Man, tell you what. Well, the great thing about USF, it's all right there in front of them. I mean, they can control their own destiny. They got to win out. They've got to go up and beat Navy at Navy, which won't be easy with that kind of unorthodox offense that they run. And they got some tough games ahead. I guess they got to beat Tulane, but they could get to a conference championship game, and if they win that, you're talking about being in the college football playoffs, man, which would just be an enormous boon.
Well, not only that, but it would be the first conference championship ever for the Bulls. I mean,
that too. How about that?
They've been up to number 2 in the country at one point, and that.
Sure.
But they've never won a conference.
Crazy, and they would be nationally ranked, obviously, and financially, it is just a windfall compared to what they earn typically with their athletic department. So if they could pull that off, you might say goodbye to Alex Golesh, and who knows, maybe even Bynum Brown. But it'd be a hell of a parting gift, like you've said before. Those are the problems you want. Those are champagne problems,
Mm-hmm.
Have a guy have that much success that quickly and get you on the national map, and you won't have any trouble hiring coaches or getting players, regardless who's here. So, it's a great start for them in this game, and I'm sure they'll go on and win pretty handily. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are continuing their preparations for Sunday's game against the New England Patriots. I'm going to make a bet, and I could be wrong about this. By the time you hear this podcast, it might be wrong as rain, but I'm going to say that Luke Goedeke is going to play right tackle in this game.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was not what I would have said 24 hours ago.
No. He's been limited or listed as limited. They were in pads. And you only get so many padded practice throughout the year, and I don't think you can go past like week 11 in pads. But
it's smart coming off a bye, get them in pads for a day.
Mm-hmm.
Their body's a little rested, and you just want them to get some contact.
Yeah,
you don't want to be 2 weeks between that, basically.
Right. Put the equipment back on that you're going to be playing in on Sunday, and they did that. And not that they're tackling guys to the ground or anything. But just watching Luke move in warm-ups, seeing him with the other offensive linemen, seeing how they were, sort of addressing that situation, I just kind of get a feeling he was moving pretty good. And if he, conditioning would be the thing, because he hasn't played or really even practiced at all. And so it'll be how he wakes up, this morning on Friday, how he feels on Saturday, maybe in pregame. But I really think, and this is sort of a little contrary to some, when a guy's been out that long, you're kind of like, well, let's give him another week, because they got a 21-day practice window, they can activate him. But by the same token, what I've always found is that when guys can go, they go, like you don't, if he can help you win a game, how do you know which game is going to be the one that you really needed to win? Now, this is an AFC opponent and all that. But you don't save players, that's rarely done in the NFL unless you think you can, get by and win, and you're playing, maybe if you're playing the Saints, something like that, and you're a prohibitive favorite, and you don't need that player that day. But for the most part, guys that have been, working to get back, if they get out on the practice field, if they can make it through Wednesday, if they make it through Thursday, and there's no setbacks, and he has been limited, but when you say limited, he's out there doing stuff. If he can get through the weekend and maybe even test it before the game on Sunday, I just feel like he's going to play. And if he does, he brings a lot of attitude to them. Obviously, look, Charlie Heck is held up, and that's the best you can say about Charlie. He's one of the lowest ranked right tackle or tackles in football right now in terms of amount of pressure he gives up and these analytics that they come up with Pro Football Focus. So almost on any scale, you wouldn't say that he's been a good right tackle. And they've had 5 different guards next to him, which probably hasn't helped him or the Bucs. So they need to shore up that offensive line. If you can at least get Luke back, and he can play anywhere near the level that he had been before his injury, that's a lot. That's a lot, and then the attitude he brings on top of it. So, talk to Tristan Wirfs. He's rooting for him to play. Nobody knows, as we do this podcast, exactly what's going to happen. But I'm going to make bank on that. I'm going to say, that he'll be questionable on Friday. My guess is they won't have him, not on the injury report. He might still be limited, and they might even tell us that we're going to see how he feels before the game. But I really do believe that just from what I've kind of seen watching him move around, I think they plan on playing him. I really do. So that at least will be somebody, because who's not playing? Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin. In fact, I did see Godwin briefly. I didn't get a chance to talk to him very much, and ask the important questions like, when the hell are you coming back? But I would say with Godwin, if those guys have been working out in the mornings typically, doing some running. Both him and Bucky are running now, which is a good sign. I think Godwin's probably going to be the end of November sometime, maybe Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving. And I don't know about Bucky because I've not seen him. But guys are slowly getting back, not as quickly as I think many people thought or hoped, but they are starting to come back a little bit. So we'll see. I have not seen Hassan Reddick. Looks like he'll be out another week, but with Anthony Nelson coming off the game he did a couple weeks ago in New Orleans, he made more plays in one game than Reddick had made all season. Not that you don't need Reddick, because you do, but we'll see if Nelson is able to duplicate anything close to that. This Patriots team's really good, and I'll say this: I've not heard more praise for a young quarterback than I've heard this week for Drake May. This team has a lot of respect for Drake May, and why not? If you look at his numbers, he's been really impressive. I think he's only thrown 4 interceptions this year, a hell of a lot of yards. And the one thing that I would say about him that might play into the Bucs' favor is that he's taken the second most sacks in the league, and he does hold on to the football. He's been sacked 6 times in each of the last 2 games. He's also fumbled 3 times in the last 2 games. So there's opportunity there, because he extends plays, but he also can make great throws down the field, and has been incredibly accurate. I think he has the first or second highest completion percentage in the NFL. So, to a man, they're all talking about, man, we got our hands full with this guy. And, that's going to be a test for their defense. And then offensively, they're just going to have to get better. I mean, they're just going to have to, figure out a way to run the ball, protect Baker a little bit. He's not running as much as we said the other day. And, if they can do those things, I mean, here's the thing you don't know. It really helps a team coming off a bye week. It just does. Guys are fresher. Their bodies feel better. But you can also be that team that starts out flat. And that's what Bowles has warned them about. Like, let's not come out and not start the game fast because we haven't played in 14 days.
Yeah, I mean, it's the rust. I mean, the first game of the season is kind of the same way, right? You haven't had contact in a few weeks. You haven't played. Sure. In the preseason. Heck, guys didn't even play sometimes.
Exactly.
So you get to that first week, and maybe your timing's off a little bit. Whether it's routes or even snap counts and things like that. I mean, that's what you're trying to avoid, and that's why I think being in pads on Thursday was a great idea, and the right thing to do is let's get back to football. Not just walkthroughs, essentially going to, a game that you haven't played in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that, if they're able to get, down in the red zone, that's where they really struggled, and that's where not having Mike Evans and Chris Godwin has really cost his team. They were fourth, I think, last year in touchdown efficiency down there inside the 20, and this year they're 26th. And that's really difficult to score points. Remember, against the Saints their last time out, they had eight plays over two drives, inside the 1 yard line, and it took them until the eighth play to score. Now they ran the ball every single time. There was no imagination, and talked a little bit to Josh Grisard about that. But I think it was more an attitude thing, like hey, the good teams can pick up a yard. Talked to Tristan Wirfs, and he's like, hey, they know what we're doing. It's like it's kind of tough to move some of those guys down there. But yeah, a year ago they were 66.7%. 46 of 69 inside the 20. This year, and after 8 games, they've dropped down to 50%. And so, consequently, you go from averaging 29.5 points a game to 15th at 24.6. So, that's you'd love to be able to run the ball down there, but it's been tough sledding for them on the ground. And, without Mike Evans, who I think maybe like 7 of his touchdowns last year were inside the 20, and two others were like from the 25 in. That was your big red zone target. That's your big guy. And even if the ball doesn't come to him, the coverage rolls to him, which enables you to run the football better down there. When you don't have a Mike Evans and everybody's packed inside and they're taking away your first option to run it, then it's a lot harder. So, they're going to just have to find a way to score points, play complementary football. I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you, because and on the one hand, the Patriots have a great record. They're going to be very physical. On the other hand, they really haven't beaten any teams except Buffalo, who wasn't playing well at the time. Most of the teams, they played the teams on their schedule, but the teams on their schedules don't have great records. Last week, they barely beat Atlanta because they missed an extra point. So it is a team that they can beat, but they're going to have to play really well. I mean, the Mike Vrabel's teams are tough. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and they have a great quarterback who's really hot right now. So we'll see if that all adds up to a victory. But
I heard ESPN all day talking about, if the quarterback has Drake May has a great game, like he's the head of the MVP conversation. And I don't know if I completely buy it, but
he's in it. Yeah, I think he'd be in it because I don't think anybody saw the Patriots being 7-2.
No, not at all.
And running away with the AL East. I mean,
AFC East, but yeah,
AFC, same thing.
We'll get to baseball. We'll get to the AL East in a little bit.
We'll get to that in just a second. Yeah, but well, it's the same. It's really the same division. You got a New York team, you got a Boston
team. Yeah,
but no Toronto. But yeah, I don't think that first of all, I think people probably expected Miami to be a little bit better. And if not them, then Buffalo for sure. I mean, to have Buffalo and Kansas City on the outside looking in, they're not division leaders right now, and Denver is kind of in a slog fest with the Raiders somehow at home. But I expect them to win that game, which you just don't know. I think this is going to be a slog fest. I think the Bucs against the Patriots is going to be one of those, tough to score, sort of like everybody's going to earn it. No big play, like. If I know Bowles, he's going to dial up a ton of pressure. He's going to try to make May hold the ball. They're going to try to strip it and get after him. He's going to bring a lot of blitzes, a lot of things that he hasn't seen before. But when you live by the blitz, you can die by the blitz. So those guys are going to have to get home. But I think they feel like they can get him to turn it over, and that's what they're going to need because they're not. I don't think they're strong enough on offense the way they're constructed right now. They don't really run the ball very well without Bucky. They don't really throw it very well without Mike and Chris. And Baker, has admittedly, sort of curtailed his rushing. He hasn't had a single rushing yard the last 2 weeks, in part because of what the defense is doing, but also because he hasn't felt great. He's been one of those guys that's, got the abdominal injury, got the oblique, he's got the knee, and the week off helped him, but he's noted for winning games with some of his scrambles, and we just haven't seen that in part because of what defenses are doing. So it's I think points will be, look, it could be high scoring if there's turnovers and things like that, but I don't think that the Bucs are just going to go up and down the field with the Patriots. I think they're going to have to play complementary football and really rely on their defense. We'll see. This is the most winnable of the next 3 games, in my opinion. I don't think you go to Buffalo and to the LA Rams and are necessarily going to be favored in those games. It's a national TV game. You got Tony Romo. Here we go, Jim. Tony. Tony Romo's there, and so there's a lot of attention. Probably the best matchup of the weekend, I think. If I looked at the
Yeah, I
schedule
would
right.
think so.
Yeah. So
I haven't looked at every game, but yeah.
but it's a big one. Two lost
two
teams.
two division leading teams. So
Sure, and interesting, storylines and AFC versus NFC and all that stuff. So yeah,
it's just too bad Fox isn't on the call with Tom Brady with his 2 former teams. But
that's what. Why didn't Fox think of this? I mean, they probably bid on the game. I mean, I guess when the AFC goes on the road, it's CBS's game for the most part.
Typically, it's CBS. Yeah, it's not 100%, but typically it's CBS. And of course, who thought this was going to be
for him to call? Yeah,
but I mean, who would have thought that New England was going to do this, and that would be the game of the week this week? I mean,
that's true. Yeah, that's true. But that would be interesting, man. They've been playing a lot of the last time the Bucs played the Patriots was when Tom Brady returned to New England.
Yep.
And I'll never forget that night. First of all, it was a night game, which sucked for me, and we were staying a long way there's nothing near Foxborough, okay? And
No.
so, it's a long ride in from Boston or wherever you fly into. And so I remember we had a couple guys, we rented a car and drove down there. It rained the entire pregame, the entire game, the entire postgame. And then after the game, if you remember, they won by a field goal. And Brady didn't play particularly great, but he led them on the drive they needed. Nick Folk, I think, clanked one off the goal post, and Mac Jones played really, really well. I think he hit like 15 passes in a row at one point. At any rate, the Bucs win, and then Belichick and Brady decided they were going to hash out their differences right then after the game. And it's like, what the actual? Like, we're waiting and waiting and waiting for Tom in the post game on deadline on a night game. And he's like, hey, sorry, guys, I got a little tied up. Yeah, you got tied up because your former coach wanted to make nice with you, And so that became kind of the story. But and then it was the drive from hell going back because it was just took so long. And it was like 2 or 3 a.m. So it was a crazy night. But that's the last time they played. Last time they played was memorable with Brady coming out on the field. It was really interesting because when he came out, the Foxborough crowd just went crazy. Like they were all on their feet, they were all screaming, and he ran down to the end zone and he gave it the LFG and all that. And then right after that, like when the game started, they had no love for Brady. They were all, it was cool. It was like, we're rooting for the Patriots. We don't care who 12 is on the other side. And they rooted hard against him, and he beat him, which was an interesting story for everybody. But yeah, it's been a couple years now for sure. The Rays were making some news. We'll get into some transactions, I guess, for them regarding arbitration and some big names, one in particular on the move. But first, get on down to Breitling Boutique. You know where that is? International Plaza Mall. You know where that is? That's the biggest mall in Tampa. Nicest one, too, for my money. It's over there, not far from Raymond James and Tampa International Airport. You go into International Plaza, you go to the center of the mall, second floor. That's where you're going to find the Breitling Boutique. They've been there for almost going on 6 years now. Great customer service. I mean, these people are so nice. Go in there. You're going to learn about the different Swiss watches that they make. The Breitling company has been in business for over 140 years. And, of course, they've been there for nearly 6. Learn about the men's watches, the chronomats, the Navitimers, ladies' watches, too, for your wife or girlfriend. These are durable watches. They're beautiful. She gets to choose from a whole bunch of different colored wristbands. It is a sensational store, and spend some time in there with the customer service. Have a drink. They're going to tell you about all their timepieces. And they also are celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 different NFL team watches. Now, this is only while supplies last. So I would encourage you to get down there and check these out, including the Buccaneers team watch. All the team watches have the team's colors on the face of the chronomat watch, the logos. There's a couple of them in the window I saw not long ago. And believe me, when you see these, you're going to want them. They're affordable. It is Breitling Boutique. It's in International Plaza Mall. When you go, please let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right. Well, the Rays making some news, some arbitration decisions, and one is a couple of them are yes to keep Brandon Lowe,
Yep.
yes for a new deal for Taylor Walls, but their closer Pete Fairbanks, oh man, one of the most colorful guys on the baseball team. They chose to let him walk. Had to pay him $1 million and not the $12 million that they owed him for arbitration. So now he's on his way out of Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he's a free agent. Will be coveted by some teams, but it'll be interesting. Be interesting what he gets. A talented pitcher, no doubt, but hasn't really seen the same success the last couple years. Had some issues in the ninth innings this year, the last 2 years really. I think it's really just like he'll teams will pick him up, but are they willing to pay closer type money to him? Are they going to make him a closer, or is he going to have to move to a seventh, eighth inning role type?
That's what I see for him. I see him starting out on some team that's probably a contending team that may have a closer, but just to bolster the back end of their bullpen, if you have the money to pay him. I don't know if he's going to make $12 million, but,
Yep, and someone that could close if you need a stretch or your closer's struggling or gets hurt a little bit or whatever, having someone that's had that experience before is very valuable.
Yeah. But a real character of the game. I think they're, there was an entertainment factor with Fairbanks.
No
there
question.
Also was, the occasional I can't feel my hand thing, when it came to cold weather and stuff.
I hope he's not going to Boston or New York,
right?
Or somewhere, where
yeah,
April and possibly May,
Colorado,
and, September, October. Yeah, well, Colorado,
yeah. I watched him walk 2 or 3 guys and give up a grand slam there.
That was the humidity. Opener. That was the balls that he was complaining about.
They're too slick. But maybe he just couldn't feel them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also kind of a big presence in your clubhouse too.
Like it is, and that's guys. Always, that's always one of the things that's always interesting with the Rays and other teams like this that churn that roster so quick and doesn't keep a lot of veterans around.
Yeah,
it's always guys under team control and younger guys. I think they struggle at times, and every season's a little different, but who's a leader in that clubhouse? And I think after like Manny Margot got traded, or when Willie Adames got traded, I think you saw some leadership voids at times.
No question.
And that's always the hard part is you can, the analytics of it will tell you what players can do in this, but there's also that leadership part that you can't quantify analytically.
Yep.
And and it's also hard too. I mean, like pitchers generally aren't leaders on a baseball team because they don't pitch every day.
Right.
It's kind of separate, but there's kind of leaders of the pitching staff part. And, but when you have that much roster churn, it's always interesting every year, and the leadership comes into play. Look, when everything's going smooth, you don't need that much leadership, but when things are hitting rough spots, when, you're struggling and you're blowing some leads or, just not playing very well, like that's when you kind of need, you figure out who the leaders on the team are. But when you have that much roster churn every year, there's not as much consistency there. So it can kind of vary, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think he was one of those guys that, that the reporters and the media would go to.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, he played a lot. He pitched a lot. He was in a lot of high leverage situations. So many times he would win or lose. But he was the guy you would go to, and he was never not entertaining. He was never not honest. And if he didn't get the job done, he was very self-deprecating. And as I like to say, he would, cut open a vein for you and bleed,
Yep.
like he would just, I didn't suck. I epically sucked or something, that's just who he was. But he also brought fire, like he, he's out there like many closers and, that's kind of a higher wire act in the major leagues to begin with. But he had that fire and I think guys fed off of it. And, it was cool to see when he was winning. And when he wasn't, he took it on his shoulders too. So The character going to be missed. I think. Don't know his relationship with his teammates. They all seem to like him. I would think that those would be big shoes to fill. And then now you just wonder, okay, what do the Rays do? Do the Rays go out? Do they think they have a guy in house that's going to take that role on? Like, just what is their plan?
Well, I think free agency just started, so we'll find.
Yeah.
And the Rays generally don't get active in free agency till March or February.
It's true.
Once, because the big name guys go first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And generally they're not in on them. I know there's some that think the Rays are going to spend a ton of money this offseason and increase the payroll.
I do not.
I do not believe that will happen at this point.
Nope.
Once a stadium's built, that changes things.
Sure.
But I could be wrong, but I don't see the payroll being much higher, if higher at all, than last year.
You're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all. And I think part of it is that, this franchise was purchased at a price that's probably, or at least what you read, above market value by a considerable amount,
Yep.
So, when you've invested that much, you're not like,
Yep.
it's a little like buying a new house. You come in, I got this house, I got all these bedrooms, and I'm not quite ready to furnish them and buy curtains and put window coverings in every window and furnish every kind of house poor. I think these guys are going to be house poor until they get a new house.
Well, not only house poor, but so they paid $1.7 billion,
right?
Whatever minus what Stu kept, what 10%, whatever he still owns.
Mm-hmm.
So you paid that, and now you're going to have to pony up $1 billion plus probably for a new stadium.
I would think close to $1 billion, yeah.
Maybe more, and you're expecting to start building that stadium in the next 6 months is your hope if you want to get it open in 3 years?
Man, I don't know.
So the bills are going to start being paid at that point. Like,
yeah.
I just don't see
Those are some big draws.
And quite frankly, you're going back to the Trop for 3 years. What do you expect the attendance to be?
Exactly.
Anything more than what it was prior?
Probably not, but maybe more than it was at Steinbrenner Field. That's what you're hoping for. But you're not going to get.
But your prices were higher at Steinbrenner as well too. So
yeah, you're not going to make a ton of revenue going back to the Trop.
I don't anticipate it unless it was a lot of people staying away because of Stu Sternberg and they start showing up. I don't anticipate that being the case, but
yeah, I do think it'll be a hell of a lot more comfortable for the 8,000 or so that want to go. Hopefully they'll bump that up to about 18,000. And a lot of it depends on how they play. I'll say this, for all the belly aching about, we should have an outdoor stadium, and if it was only in Hillsborough. Okay, those two theories have been debunked. We don't have to talk about them anymore because they were both crap, right? The players themselves and the way the ball club is constructed, it plays better. They're more fitted and more suited for the Trop than they were, obviously, Steinbrenner. And it showed. It showed. They have athletic guys in the outfield. The pitchers, pitch to contact, and they can probably do better in a bigger ballpark like the Trop than they would, with the different wind currents out there and at Steinbrenner. So I just think they're going to feel more at home, whether the fans like it or not. The ball club should thrive there more than they did at Steinbrenner. So that's a big thing. But they did pick up Brandon Lowe's option. I think that's a smart thing. Look, when he stays healthy, he's going to hit you 30-plus home runs, period.
Well, he showed you that this year. I mean,
yeah.
He and, actually, Caminero and Brendan Lowe had phenomenal seasons. Aranda did.
Sure they did.
It's when you look at some of the offensive numbers, what they did, it's a shame that they finished, 6 or 8 games below 500, whatever it was.
Yep.
Because offensively, this is one of the best seasons they've had in a while.
Yep.
But just a shame. And no more Bob Seymour, no more Cameron Meisner.
No more Bob Seymour, Cameron Meisner. Yeah. And I mean, Meisner, God, what a debut, opening day at Steinbrenner. He has the walk-off home run to beat somebody 3-2.
The Rockies.
And Seymour came up. I thought he was, finally got his shot. Big Bob was going to hit some bombs, and that didn't work out. So a couple of named guys last year that played a lot, for the Rays, and they're both gone. And they bring back a guy named Jake Fraley, who I'd forgotten about altogether.
Yeah, he was a prospect drafted, I think, second round, 16 maybe. Was traded to Seattle in the Zunino trade.
Wow.
So
that's a long time ago.
Yeah, that was in 18. I think they traded him, like end of 2018. So for the 19 season. So
wow, that's crazy. Well, yeah. So
but yeah, free agency now starting in baseball. So we'll see how the roster is constructed. But they've got some decisions to make, and as we've discussed, I mean, they probably still got to figure out catching. They still need to figure out outfield and shortstop as far as the offensive side goes.
Right, and they did give a new contract to Taylor Walls. So
yes, I mean Carson Williams is your shortstop of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's ready yet? Seeing how much he struck out when he got up.
No need to rush him, but Walls can also find his place in the lineup 4 out of 5 days because he can play third or second.
Yep.
So love his glove. I mean, he's outstanding fielder, Gold Glove candidate, right?
No question. He was a finalist this year, so didn't win it, but Bobby Witt Jr. did. But
but he was definitely deserving. So I think that was a good signing. I think they were right to do that. In the NFL, a name from the past, former Buccaneer, former Steeler, former Raider, Antonio Brown has been arrested on an attempted murder charge stemming from that shooting back at a celebrity boxing event in Miami. Brown was taken into custody. He fled the United States. He was taken into custody by U.S. Marshals in Dubai.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where he'd been on the lam, so to speak. They flew him to Essex County, New Jersey, and that's where he was being held pending extradition to Miami. And he's going to face attempted murder charges. It's unclear why they took him to New Jersey. Maybe that was just the better connection.
Well, they've cut 10% of the flights everywhere. Maybe that was the only flight they could get from Dubai
might be.
to the U.S.
Yeah, geez. I'm glad I'm not on the road this week, but B, I'm pretty sure I'm never going to make it to Buffalo, and if I do, I'll never get back. So yeah. According to the arrest warrant, it was back in May 16th, as a matter of my birthday, that he's accused of grabbing a handgun from a security staffer after a boxing match, and he fired 2 shots at a man that he'd gotten into a fist fight with earlier. And the bullets grazed the guy's neck. Is lucky he wasn't killed. So it's unclear whether he has an attorney. This guy, as you know, because we lived it, has been a train wreck. 12 years in the NFL. His last game, of course, was in Tampa Bay when he famously went Magic Mike on everybody and stripped his stuff off at halftime and went into the locker room, was fired on the spot, basically. But lots of legal problems, accused of battery on a truck driver, several domestic violences, failure to pay anybody, including child support. So it's sad, to be honest with you. Like, this is a supremely talented player. Like, this guy, first ballot Hall of Fame, in my opinion, just from his production, not his character per se. But just unbelievable talent. And I'm telling you right now, the Bucs don't win a Super Bowl, in my opinion, without Antonio Brown showing up after 8 games. He served his suspension for that truck driver incident, and they brought him in here. Bruce Arians did not want him. He had an opportunity to get him at another time. He said, nope, too much diva. I don't want him. Brady convinced him, and then he became that third receiver that got single coverage that could take the top off of a defense, and Brady started to throw the ball downfield. And they were behind, I think, the Falcons 17-0, and that was the coming out game sort of for Antonio Brown. And it came from behind and beat them, and then went on to win 8 in a row and won the Super Bowl. And that was great. He caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl too. And the Bucs at that point should have washed their hands and said, look, man, we made this work. But then they re-upped and signed him again. And the rest, as I say, is history. But scary dude in some respects. But, he's going to have to face the music now. And they bringing him back from Dubai. How about that? Federal marshals. Oof. That can't be good. All right, so big football weekend, college football, Florida State at Clemson, University of Florida playing at Kentucky. Of course, USF running away with UTSA as we do this podcast. So lots of college football. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to host Alex Ovechkin and the Capitals. Alex Ovechkin now with, 900 goals? Is that right?
Yes, the first player ever to achieve that, as Jordan Binnington tried to steal the puck, the goalie.
Good idea. Put that on eBay. Make a little money there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so always, I mean, you talk about a legend now. You talk about Hall of Famers and iconic players of our generation. That's Alex Ovechkin. So if you got a chance to go see him again, he's worth the price of admission for sure.
Lightning down 2-0 to Vegas as we're recording this in the first period. But
yeah, I had a chance to really make this a great road trip, but they got some points certainly on this westward trip. But need to get back home here and get back on a roll.
It doesn't help that they got their first shot on goal with 4:22 left in the first period.
No, that does not help.
Doesn't help win a game that way.
No,
but we'll see. It's only still the first period, just down 2-0 late in the first. So
yeah, and as we also do this podcast, it appears the great Geno Smith has possibly, I would say, maybe an Achilles. Not exactly sure, but he went down and does not look good. And so Kenny Pickett may be the next quarterback of the Raiders. So Tom Brady not working out over there in greater Las Vegas. But anyway, enjoy the games. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be back on Sunday. Get on down to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. When I say Sunday, I mean Sunday night for Monday's morning podcast. Go to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Check out the beautiful men's and women's watches, NFL watches, all 32 teams represented while supplies last. Let them know you heard about it on this podcast, Sports Day Tampa Bay. Hey, thanks for listening every Monday through Friday. We really appreciate it. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great weekend, everybody.